So topic for today is circulatory system. So exactly what is a circulatory system? The circulatory system is a system of blood vessels which have a pump is a heart, and valves. Valves is there to ensure one-way flow of blood. So what does exactly one-way flow of blood means? One-way flow of blood means that blood will flow in only one direction. So if it is flowing forward, it won't flow backwards, and if it's flowing backwards, it won't flow upwards. Now what is double circulation and what are their benefits? Double circulation means blood flowing through the heart in two forms, one in an oxygenated way while other in a deoxygenated way. This image shows the parts of the body which play an important role in the circulatory system. The tissues are the lungs and the hearts, while the blood vessels are capillaries, arteries and veins. Arteries carry blood away from the heart while veins carry blood back to the heart. Capillaries, arteries and veins play an important role in the circulatory system. So what are the benefits of the double circulation system? Blood traveling through the small capillaries in the lungs loses a lot of pressure that was given it to by the pumping heart. Like if a person travels, it loses its energy. The same case is with the blood, it loses its pressure. So it cannot travel as fast as when it was leaving the heart. Also, by returning the blood to the heart after going through the lungs, its pressure can be raised again before sending it to the body, meaning cells can be supplied with the oxygen and glucose they need for respiration faster and more frequently, and their energy and pressure increases. Basic structure of the heart. The heart has 4 chambers. The right side carries the deoxygenated blood while the left side carries oxygenated blood. The 4 chambers are the right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium and left ventricle. Blood is pumped towards the hearts by veins and away from the hearts by the arteries. This image shows an original human heart showing the right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium and left ventricle. So this image shows the parts of the circulatory system. So the deoxygenated blood is received by the right atrium by vena cava, superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. Inferior vena cava is at the top and it receives the blood from the head and the arms, and the blood is deoxygenated. Inferior vena cava receives the blood from the other parts of the body like intestine and the lower parts. It also carries the deoxygenated blood to the right atrium. Both the vena cavas carry blood to the right atrium. Once the right atrium is filled with the blood, a little beat is given and the tricuspid valves open and the blood flows into the right ventricle. Then from the right ventricle, the blood passes into the pulmonary artery, but before passing into the pulmonary artery, there is a wall between the pulmonary artery and right ventricle, which is known as pulmonary valve. Pulmonary valve opens and the blood flows into the pulmonary artery. Pulmonary artery carries blood to the lungs. Remember, blood being carried by the pulmonary artery to the lungs is in deoxygenated form. The deoxygenated form then combines with oxygen in the lungs and become an oxygenated blood. Oxygenated blood then is carried by the pulmonary vein from the lungs. Pulmonary veins carries blood to the left atrium. Then the bicuspid valves open and the blood in the left atrium travels to the left ventricle. Then blood from the left ventricle travels to the aorta, but there is a valve between aorta and left ventricle which is known as aortic valve. It opens when a little beat is given and the blood travels to the aorta in a high pressure. Aorta carries blood to the rest of the body in a high pressure so the all body tissues can get blood as soon as possible. This makes the circulatory system and supply of oxygen more efficient. These are the notes given which you can copy and check it out while going through the circulatory system again. It can be a reference for you and a guidance. The ventricles have thicker muscle walls than the arteria as they are pumping blood out of the body, and so they need to generate a high pressure. The left ventricle has a thicker muscle than the right ventricle as it has to pump blood at a high pressure around the entire body, whereas the right ventricle is pumping blood at lower pressure to the lungs. There is a part between the 2 chambers and the 2-sided of the hearts which is known as septum. Septum separates the two sides of the heart and so prevent the mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. What are the functions of the valves? The basic function of all valves is to prevent blood flowing backwards. There are 4 valves we mention in our circulatory system. Number 1, tricuspid valve, which stops blood flowing back into the right atrium. Pulmonary valve, which stops blood flowing back into the right ventricle. Bicuspid valve, which stops blood flowing into the left atrium. The aortic valve, which stops blood flowing back into the left ventricle. As the heart also needs oxygen to work out, so there are some blood vessels known as coronary arteries which provide blood to the heart. They provide the oxygenated blood to the heart so it can work it out. This image shows the 4 parts labeled A, B and C. So pause the video here and check it out if you can name these parts. I hope most of you would have worked it out, so I'm telling you the answers now. Part A is known as right atrium, while part B is known as right ventricle, part C is known as left atrium, and part D is known as left ventricle.